So, and when you think about that, and you just sit with it for a minute and think, when they were abolishing slavery, they thought it necessary to have an exception. You sons of bitches.
Mm. Ike Speaks. What's good with ya? So, all right, let me ask you a very tough layered question. All right, the way you broke it down, right? And the way the system currently is, how it works, how it was set up to work. Do you think there will ever be a time when that system will work in our favor, being as though we were initially set up as second-class citizens?
And so I was talking about this the other day. I don't know if you saw my post about the 13th. I did a video on the 13th.
Yeah, I did.
I did a video on the 13th Amendment back in 2016, back in July of 2016, talking about this. And so my answer is no. The answer is no. The system will never change as long as it's profitable for a small group of people, right? Because you got to understand the prison industrial complex is it's $1 million industry, $1 billion industry, for-profit industry, right? And so what allows that to happen? The 13th Amendment, right? Because but for the 13th Amendment and its exceptions clause, the prison, what they're paying people, prison wages, would be in violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act. It would be a federal fucking crime to pay somebody 25 cents an hour or a day or whatever it is, right? But because the 13th Amendment it specifically states that slavery shall be abolished except if you're convicted of a crime. It doesn't even say high crime or misdemeanor. It doesn't even say felony. It just says crime. Crime. So, and when you think about that, and you just sit with it for a minute and think, when they were abolishing slavery, they thought it necessary to have an exception. You sons of bitches. You sons of bitches. Right? Like, who does that?
Yeah, that's malice. That's malice and forethought.
What kind of demon are you? You know what? We got to make sure we can have them as a commodity some way.
Right.
So what we gonna do? All right. Well, if they commit a crime, and then you see that the chain gang, right? And then that's where we get the explosion of the prison population. It steadily rose from that time on, and it's profitable.
Right.
You got contracts. You got some prisons with government contracts that they keep the prisons full. Keep the prisons full. That's a problem.
Now with your post, so how long was your video? Was your video like a short? Was it like
My video was like 6 minutes.
So you did like an expose, a narrative. You had pictures.
It was a narrative on how the prison industrial complex will never change because of the profiting, and the reasoning behind the profiting is the 13th Amendment. And then I broke down the exceptions clause, and
it was July 2016, and then you said that 13th Michelle Alexander's Netflix thing came out in September.
Ava Duvernay.
Oh, Ava Duvernay, yeah. But wasn't it based on Michelle's book?
No, she was just one of the contributors in the film. So there were, I think Brian Levinson was in it. There were a few other people.
Okay. So had you met Ava before? Had you met her?
Never.
Did she follow you?
So she didn't follow me, but here's what I will say. I had a video that went viral November 2015. So I was a little hot that next year, right? That was the Tamir Rice video where I was like, fuck America, that went viral. It was on everything. Everybody picked it up, blah, blah, blah. So I know people know of me, right?
Okay.
And I know that her team does search for videos and they send her stuff. I know that for a fact. The other thing was I couldn't find anything on production for the 13th. Nothing. Like, how long did it take to make this movie? This documentary. We know documentaries take 8 weeks. Right. So yours came out in October. Where'd you get the idea from? I just want to know. I just got questions.
Yeah. Have you ever?
Nobody talking about the exceptions clause in the 13th Amendment.
Yeah. No.
Nobody.
No. I would agree.
People, you know what I'm saying? So
usually when pre-production, somebody will leak something. It's a thing coming out in about 6 months. Usually there'll be some type of, but it was nothing. Have you ever pursued it?
So when it first happened, that's when I first went on to Twitter, and that's when she blocked me.
Oh.
So the block is not new, but it was bothering me. And I was like, let me just let people know that she blocked me.
Oof.
Right? He was like, well, that's how her Twitter is set up. That's how it's set up now.
Yeah.
And I have another Twitter for my bodybuilding, and she ain't blocked that shit.
Yeah.
That's only Fit Body. Fit Body is not Attorney Ike Speaks or none of that, right? You didn't block Fit Body. So I don't know. I listen, just tell me. I got a couple questions.
Yeah. Right. She all about empowerment. Break down.
Just let me know.
Yeah, give me a production credit. Oh wow, that's interesting.
Come on.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Shift gears a little bit. Down here in Montgomery County, I just want to get your opinion on this. They just passed, a budget for Montgomery County school system, and part of that was the proposed removal of school resource officers, basically the police that sit in the schools and sit in the.
I know them well.
And the argument is, here's the argument, is I put this on Facebook and it was really 50-50, which I found surprising, from educators and parents alike. So the argument is, what happens to the students and their interactions with a police officer on campus, on the high school campus, equates to perpetuating the school to prison pipeline.
It's trauma.
Trauma, right. And so the person behind the bill or the language in the budget legislation was somebody on the school board saying that he was influenced by kids, by the students, right?
Right.
So essentially, it's about to get passed. It was some number. I can't even quote the number, but there was one in every school. Some of them had them just in the parking lot, and they had substations in the school building. And the proposal is that if you need police services, just call 911, because now this officer is free to police the community, and he still won't be far. He just won't be on site. Okay, so that's context, right? Law enforcement, they're saying, with the issues that y'all have that y'all can't handle on your own, it's still going to put a strain on us, because now it's going to take us time to get there, to deal with it. Leave this in place. It was working, blah, blah, blah. Right. I heard from Black people for and against. And some of the reasons I thought were fascinating that, so I'm going to go with unpopular opinion and just want to get your thoughts. I think it's a dumb idea. I don't know.
Take them out or keep them?
To take them out.
Okay.
And here's why. I get the connection with perpetuating or simulation of the school to prison pipeline. Right. But I don't think it's that. The fact the part that got me in the story was when I got to the end of the story and they said the idea came from the students. Of course it did. Of course. I deal with this population. A lot of them, they have information at their fingertips. They have the world. They have everything. But a lot of them think they're so smart, like they're reinventing the wheel. Right. They saw 2020 happen, and their activism button, got engaged, and we want to do this, and we want to blah blah blah. We're going to be the generation that blah blah blah. You take police out the schools? Nah, man. Nah. So the way some of these schools is, nah, man. I don't know, man.
So my thing is, I would offer a intermediate, right? Because I don't think the school resource officer needs to be a police officer. He could be a peace officer.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be with the police department necessarily, right? Which sort of removes some of the stigma that the kids might be interacting with the police.
Right.
And instead of the school resource officer being a police figure, it's more of an extension of the school security. That's it. And so I agree with you. I think it's ridiculous to take the school resource officers out if we can put them that way. That's how they were in my high school. Right. And I had a good relationship with the school resource officer because I stayed in trouble. I stayed in trouble. But it wasn't a policing type of relationship.
Yeah. Right.
Even though they had relationships with the police.
Right.
So I think that there is a delicate balance. There's a happy medium that can be found. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. But when we're listening to kids tell us what to do, or we're listening to people tell us why they shoot Asian people, we in the weeds, right? We can't in the peak week. What's happening right now?
Right. Yeah, that's what I said. It was so wild because the guy that was making the point from the school board, every point he hit made sense. He
Right.
said there's no psychologist, there's no mediation, there's no nothing, there's just police. And I was like, okay, bet that makes sense. Yeah, change that. But then when it was like, this initiative came from the students, I was like, they just got together trying to be woke, fake woke, and like we can't move the weed like we want to, and
Right.
it's because yeah, and I hate to say this, but like, because this sounds like some old erudite, but if you that student and y'all really not doing nothing, and you ain't knocking heads, and you ain't bringing the pistol in there, then having that officer in there is really not affecting you in no way, shape, or form.
Right.
Especially if you're not making contact, then you're not. There's no school to prison pipeline for you.
Right.
But I guess the issue was that for the people who, when they come in there and rough up the girl that doesn't want to take her coat off in class, or body slam the black girl to the ground. Not saying that that's what happened there, but I get that part of the argument.
Sure.
You don't have to be, ATF
right
in a school building.
Right.
So I get that. I'm not for that.
Right.
But having a
training, can't we? Can we address that with the appropriate training for the appropriate resource officer who's going to be stationed in the school?
Yeah,
this is what you're allowed to do. This is what you're not allowed to do.
Right.
I mean, why did they make it seem like it's so difficult? You're going to put somebody in there, you're going to run roughshod? No.
Right.
You're going to say these are your parameters that you work in. You step outside these parameters, you could be liable to all these kids and their parents.
Yeah, because high school is for fights. I mean, that's what the fights is supposed to be. I remember my principal. Man, they used to wear my principal out. He used to try to break up. Like 5-on-5s.
Don't do that.
And he'd be getting. I was like, wow, yeah, we had just had administrators. We had athletic administrators who all were like ex-football players or whatever, but they weren't cops.
Yeah.
And you had a relationship with them, and you respected them and feared them because they might have got with you the same way you was getting with.
That's right.
But not police.
Not police.
Yeah. But to the point, and you brought it up. This will be the last point. The hate crimes against Asian Americans, the national crisis, and the recent bill that got passed. So I was being some kind of way on Twitter today. I reached out to Kamala Harris, Ilhan Omar, Yana Presley, AOC, Bernie, Tim Scott. I added all of them. Did it twice. And I was like, and I wasn't being snarky. I worded it carefully. I rewrote it like 3 or 4 times.
Right.
Didn't even draw attention to the new hate crime bill. I was just like, who is the elected official we need to reach out to get legislation passed to combat hate and violence against African Americans?
Right.
Point blank, period.
Right, because we can't get nothing passed.
Because obviously you can do it.
You can do it. It can be, obviously it can be done.
Yeah, it can be done.
Right.
So it's like now I'm like in a way where I'm like, all right, well, maybe we need to ask that way now instead of just like, let me get. We should be like, hey, you just did it.
Right.
Can we do it again?
We can do it a whole lot more times because there's a whole lot of bills sitting waiting.
And it's definitely data. There's definitely data. And then somebody tried to correct me, and they were like, well, the anti-lynching bill last year, the VP was she co-authored that, and it went to filibuster because of Rand Paul. And I'm like, yeah, but y'all just did one that just moved.
Right. You're right. Right.
It just moved.
And why are we still fighting for an anti-lynching bill in 2021? That's egregious. That's egregious. It's offensive. I'm personally offended. I'm professionally offended that's still a thing. That's ridiculous. Why are we still trying to get John Conyers HR 40 passed? We just want to study reparations. Just study it. We ain't saying you got to give us nothing. Just look into the shit. You won't pass that. And he didn't put that up since 1987. Every year reintroducing that bill. And we still here in 2021. Because nothing has changed. How about that?
Right.
How about the fact that Joe Biden, that Biden is president means nothing, right? And the Democrats are clueless, absolutely clueless. You got the president saying the filibusters, it's okay. Get out of here. It's not okay. That's why we don't have shit. But you know, he's not Lindsey Graham. He ain't like, well, we gonna do it my way then. But he ain't. You know, he's not Mitch McConnell. He's not. He's
So
like I don't know. He's got dementia.
so without pointing to the obvious or anything negative about this most recent bill, why do you think it was, from a legal standpoint, it was able to take shape and reach come to fruition in such haste?
It's one of those bills where nobody has to take a side, right? Nobody's
Hmm.
taking sides. I don't think anybody's taking sides, right?
Mm.
It doesn't have the black white race aspect, and it doesn't have a monetary aspect, right? When things get by when it doesn't involve black people,
Yeah.
become obstructionist when it becomes about us. They always have been. I mean, that is the history of this country.
Yeah.
As soon as it involves us or something we are entitled to or asking for, seeking anything, well, we wait, right? That's what we've always been told.
Yeah.
Just wait. Just wait a little long. And we are still being told that, even with this new administration.
I don't care if it is a closet. You still looking mad official.